The sea. The Gulf states are bordered by 1,700 miles of it. It brings to mind a number of things: adventure, romance, protection for our nation, recreation, treasure. To me, the most important of all is its vast store of food. The fishing industry is one of the oldest and most vital in the American economy, and the Gulf area is one of the nation's leaders in the production of seafood. That's what I want to talk to you about. Hello, I'm Martha Gale Clark, home economist specializing in seafood cookery. Many people overlook this exciting food resource right on our doorstep. Perhaps they think they don't like fish, or it's just a matter of habit that it's seldom included on their menus. Let's look at some of the reasons why it makes sense to take advantage of what the Gulf has to offer. There are 4 main points about seafood which can lead to a more healthy, enjoyable way of life for you and your family. Nutrition, economy, ease of preparation, and variety. Let's examine these points a little more closely. Nutrition is the key to good health, and a wide range of valuable nutrients in fish makes it unique among foods. The quality of fish protein cannot be surpassed. It is nutritionally complete and balanced. Since there is little or no cartilage tissue, fish is 85 to 95% digestible and therefore more readily available to the body. Vitamins are necessary to life, health, and growth. An average serving of fish is an excellent source of needed vitamins. The percentage supplied varies with the species of fish. Fish are a natural source of iodine and other minerals such as phosphorus, magnesium, and iron. The fat content varies from 1 to 20% by weight depending on the species of fish and the season of the year. Its great advantage is that this fat, unlike that of other animals, is polyunsaturated, which is highly recommended from a health point of view. Fish is a natural to be low in calories. So you see, seafood altogether is a very beneficial food. It's one the American Heart Association recommends. And don't forget, when a food is healthy, it helps you keep alert, and it's a beauty treatment too. Fish makes you brainy, bright, and beautiful. Economy has to play a big part for most of us when it comes to choosing foods. Sometimes that means sacrificing quality, but not in the case of seafood. To balance the budget, seafood can't be beaten. Fillets, portions, fish sticks, and canned fish are all 100% edible. There is no waste. Although they are not expensive, the per-serving cost of seafoods may be further reduced by the wise use of other low-cost ingredients. No doubt about it, low-cost foods and fish really go together. Fish can be mixed with soups, chowders, or just served with other foods. Use low-cost foods with imagination, and the simplest seafood recipes will take on an added interest. So remember the savings formula with fish and shellfish. Variety minus waste plus imagination equals economy. Ease in preparation is another must for today's young homemaker. Fish and shellfish are natural time savers. Initial preparation need take only a few minutes, and the actual cooking is easy. You will find plenty of exciting new seafood recipes to serve around the clock for any meal or occasion. In fact, with all the various species of edible fish and shellfish available and all the flexibility in methods of preparation, it is easy to make time for seafood. There's no need to worry that it might get monotonous to serve fish often because you could eat fish every day of the year and never repeat the same dish. So far, I've given you 3 good reasons for eating seafood. Now, consider the 4th, variety. Let's go to the fish market and have a look. From the Gulf of Mexico, at least 50 seafood species are caught and sold. However, many of these are specialty items and not always available in local fish markets. Fresh drum, flounder, spotted trout, and redfish are generally available and always delicious. These are shore or bay fishes. Red snapper is another popular food fish, and this one comes from the deep, cold waters of the open Gulf. Blue crab is another important Gulf shellfish. It supports a large commercial fishery. The Gulf shrimp harvest is the largest and most stable in the world. More than 1 million pounds of shrimp are consumed daily in the United States. As a wise shopper, you should also become familiar with the various market farms for fish and how to recognize when they are fresh. Whole or round fish are just as they come from the water. However, in many areas, they are not sold in this form. More often, they are marketed as drawn fish, which simply means the gills and entrails have been removed. Before a drawn fish is cooked, it must be scaled and headed or dressed. Dressed fish usually have the tail and fins removed. Most large fish are cut into smaller pieces prior to cooking. The most popular cut is known as a fillet, and the fish industry adopted this term as the American spelling and pronunciation of the French word fillet. Fillets are prepared by cutting the sides of the fish lengthwise away from the backbone. They are practically boneless and require no additional preparation before cooking. The skin may be left on or removed. Fish steaks are sliced cross-sections of a dressed fish, usually about 3/4 of an inch thick. They are ready to cook when purchased. Usually the only bone is the cross-section of the backbone. You can also buy fish that has been cut into portions, or you can cut your own. Portions should be cut from fillets at an angle and on a slant. The results are uniform cuts that appear to be miniatures of a whole fillet. Fish sticks can also be cut from whole fillets, but at a more acute angle to assure long, uniform pieces. With either portions or sticks, best results can usually be obtained if the fillets have been skinned. In selecting fresh fish, you should watch out for these important points. The flesh of a whole fish should be firm and elastic. Press down on it with your finger. If fresh, its flesh will spring back to its natural shape. The eyes of a fresh fish should be bright, clear, full, and transparent. As a fish becomes stale, its eyes become cloudy and tend to sink into the head. Gill covers should be bright and free from clotted blood and dark splotches. The skin should be shiny with the color unfaded. Odor should be fresh and mild. In fact, a fresh fish just taken from the water has practically no fishy odor. Fresh fillets and steaks should also have these characteristics. The flesh should appear freshly cut, and the color should resemble that of a freshly dressed fish. It should have a firm texture and appear moist. Any odor should be fresh and mild. There are also things to look for when buying fresh frozen fish. Make sure the flesh is solidly frozen with no discoloration, brownish tinge, or white cottony appearance. There should be little or no odor, since a strong odor always means poor quality. There should be no damage to the package, with little or no airspace between fish and wrapping. In boxes containing a number of packages, the corners should be loose and the packages not stuck together. Remember, virtually all spoilage is prevented when fish are properly held in the frozen state. The next logical question is how much fish to buy. The amount varies with the recipe to be used, the size of the servings, and the amount of bone in the fish. Allow about 4 to 6 ounces of cooked, boneless fish for each individual, a little less for small children and a little more for adolescent boys and men because naturally they have heartier appetites. The following table can help you decide how much fish to buy per serving. Whole, 3/4 pound. Dressed or pan-dressed, 1/2 pound. Fillets or steaks, 1/3 pound. Portions, 1/3 pound. Sticks, 1/4 pound. Canned, 1/6 pound. The allowances would be the same for both frozen and fresh fish. As soon as you get home from the market, it's important to take care of your purchases properly. Fresh fish should be placed in a tightly covered dish. Or it can be wrapped in moisture vapor-proof paper. I recommend using freezer paper for wrapping fishery products because other wrappings are not strong enough to secure the quality while storing the fishery product. The fish should then be stored in the coldest part of the refrigerator. If the fish is to be kept longer than 36 hours, it should be placed in the freezer because fresh fish should be used within 24 to 36 hours. Remember that fresh fish spoil easily if not handled with care. High-quality frozen fish that has been properly processed and packaged will remain in good condition for relatively long periods of time when held at 0 degrees Fahrenheit or below. It is a good practice to date the packages as they are put in the freezer. Do not hold raw frozen fishery products in the freezer for longer than 6 months. Cooked seafoods should be stored in the refrigerator in a covered container for no longer than 2 or 3 days. Or they may be stored in the freezer if packaged in moisture-proof material. However, do not hold cooked fish in the freezer longer than 3 months. Remember, freshness is the key to good seafood. Thawing is an important stage when you're ready to utilize the seafood. Fish will keep if solidly frozen, but if thawed, it should be used immediately. Do not hold thawed fish for any longer than a day before cooking. Allow 24 hours for thawing a 1-pound package of seafood. Place the fish on a tray and then in the refrigerator for the length of time. If you are in more of a hurry, place each package under cold running water, allowing 1 to 2 hours for thawing. Remember never to thaw fish at room temperature, and do not refreeze fish after it's been thawed. Methods for thawing shellfish are the same as for frozen fish. Now for the preparation. Seafood is the perfect answer for the young homemaker who is trying to beat the clock, yet likes to serve food with a flair. As well as being nutritious, it's one of the easiest foods to prepare, and only a short cooking time is needed. For instance, a baked stuffed fish will cook in 40 minutes to an hour, when it takes 3 to 4 hours to cook other meats. See how easily a baked stuffed fish is prepared. Use a dressed fish and cut a pocket, extending the opening where the entrails have been removed. You can use kitchen shears, or if you prefer, a small knife, pressing along the backbone. Salt the inside and the outside of the fish. Salt brings out the natural flavor of seafood. Blend together the ingredients of your favorite stuffing. Pack the stuffing loosely in the pocket of the fish. Close the opening by using metal skewers, piercing the skin and the flesh of the fish. Toothpicks can also be used. Using just some regular string, lace the fish, pulling it tautly. And tying off the string at the end. Be sure and clip off the extra ends. You want to be sure and use the remainder of the stuffing, so place this in the head area of the fish. It will bake right along with the rest of the fish. To prevent drying of the baked fish during the baking time, brush lightly with melted fat. And probably during the baking time you'll want to baste 2 or 3 other times. This will keep the fish moist and also make the meat flaky. And there you have the baked fish ready to be placed in a 350-degree oven for 30 to 40 minutes. The most important factor to remember in cooking any fish, no matter what the method, is do not overcook the fish. We cook fish to develop their flavor, to soften the small amount of connective tissue present, and to make the protein easier to digest. Cooking fish at too high a temperature or for too long a time period toughens, dries them out, and destroys their fine flavor. So remember, do not overcook fish. How can you tell when fish are cooked? Let me show you. Raw fish have a watery, translucent look. During the cooking process, the watery juices will become milky colored, giving the flesh an opaque, whitish tint all the way through when it is completely cooked. At this point, the flesh will flake easily when tested with a fork and will readily come away from any bones present. Now it is moist and tender and ready to serve. Now for the finishing touch that means so much. You have probably already learned that people eat with their eyes, and imagination is a secret ingredient for any recipe. Eye-catching garnishes add zest and life to fish dishes. Let me demonstrate. For the garnish, I have selected lemon and parsley. Simple, edible color contrast and a hint of flavor. As you can see, garnishing can be done with little or no additional time, effort, or expense. and it's a challenge to see how creative you can be. Just as there are many species of fish, varying in flavor, texture, and size, there are many cooking methods from which you can choose. The most popular, other than baking, are frying, broiling, steaming, and boiling. To give you some idea of what awaits you on your adventure in seafood cookery, here are a few samples of the variety of Gulf fishery products and some other methods of preparation. Pan-fried Texas trout are easy to fix, but for taste are hard to beat. Just dip them in milk and cornmeal, slip them in a frying pan, and they're ready in 10 to 12 minutes. Oven-fried redfish is a treat for your guests and couldn't be simpler to prepare. Dip in liquid, roll in breading, drizzle with melted fat, and place on a cookie sheet in a 500-degree oven for 8 to 10 minutes. It will be as crunchy as if it were fried, but less greasy. A touch of tangy sauce and some colorful vegetables round out a truly tempting dish. Fish for breakfast may sound strange, but just try it and you'll be pleasantly surprised. Brush some fillets with a zippy lemon juice and oil mixture, sprinkle with paprika, and broil until tender. A platter of eggs and these golden fillets is a bright start to the day and will give you plenty of zest for hours. You can give variety to your backyard barbecues with smoked mullet. This often overlooked fish becomes a delicacy when prepared in this manner. After a brief preliminary soaking in brine, it can be smoked with or without a barbecue sauce. Broiled flounder has a light and mild flavor and is another dish that is quick and easy. Give it a brushing with melted fat and 10 to 12 minutes under the broiler, then it's all ready to be served. A garnish of lemon makes a good color contrast. Mouth-watering chowder can serve as an appetizer or as a main course. First, saute the vegetables, then add the fish cubes and either tomato juice or milk. All it needs then is simmering on top of the range for 15 to 20 minutes. You'll find spicy baked snapper a delicious treat. A combination of tomato juice, vinegar, and French dressing gives it a tangy flavor. If you're short on time, here's a savory delight you can fix quickly. Broil flounder fillets under a blanket of grated onion and tomato pieces until flaky. Then top with cheese and pop under the broiler again just long enough for the cheese to melt. This is a real family pleaser, so be sure to have enough for seconds. You see, there is no limit to the exciting choices. You can make seafood as plain or as fancy a dish as you wish. Some of the simplest recipes can produce the best results. Yet, with tasty seasonings and some artistic touches, fish can become glamorous and exotic enough to please any gourmet. Versatile seafood can bring you oceans of compliments. I'm sure when you have tried some of these delightful dishes and realize all the benefits, you too will be making time for seafood.